Hey y'all, how y'all doing? Long time, no talk. Before I even get started, I do want to apologize because I do try to be consistent, especially with my YouTube page. I am serious about this, and I want y'all to know I am serious about this, and I want y'all to know that if I am ever gone for a week or so, just know that I will be back eventually. And know that I may be going through something. Check in on me. Shoot. If I ain't posted in a week, or even 2 weeks, check in on me. Give me some motivation, you know. But because a lot of times I'm motivating myself. But today we're gonna be talking about skin complexion, my journey with accepting myself as a dark-skinned black individual in this world, and growing to a place of loving that. So let's get into it. Let's pat ourselves first. Bitch. As y'all know, I have my list. I always got my list. The official title that I put on this paper was, I love my skin complexion. That wasn't always the case. First, I want to start. Black men and black boys have insecurities too. I have seen a push towards highlighting women's insecurities and girls' insecurities when it comes to like body image issues, when it comes to feeling pretty and all this different kinds of stuff. But I want to contest that for somebody that growed up an overweight, dark skinned black boy, I had insecurities as well. And not only did I have those insecurities were also pointed out by my peers and by the world and by people in the world. It's just like, one, I wish more men would be more open about their insecurities, more open about the stuff they went through in the past. And two, I wish that we could get, you know, just a little bit more representation in this particular aspect of like highlighting these issues. That's part of the reason why I'm here. I'm highlighting these insecurities because yes, I did grow up an overweight black boy, dark-skinned black boy, so and more effeminate at times, where that got me in trouble too. It's just like, I come from a space where I have a lot of similar experiences, if not the same exact experiences, just different. So I just want to start off with that. Just get that out the way. When I was younger, like in pre-K, kindergarten, this is like 4, 5, 6-ish, I always notice skin tone differences because it's just like, obviously the colors are just different. But at this point, I had no biases towards anything. I had no exposure to any negative. So consciously, I didn't have any exposure to any negative aspects when it comes to like skin complexion, dark skin, light skin, all that stuff. I had no comprehension of that. I didn't know. I just thought people was people. You know, kids are very innocent, and I was a very innocent child. I didn't know about the how dark the world could get, basically. Moving on from there, like growing up a little bit older, maybe 6, 7. This is like 1st, 2nd grade. This is when my family does this too. A lot of black households do this. We start to refer to people as light skin and dark skin. And I feel like the reason, a lot of times in my household, the reason that we did that was to just point the difference. We wouldn't be like, oh, that girl with the ponytail as opposed to the girl with the glasses. You know what I mean? We would be like light skin, dark skin. It was just easy to grasp because noticeably there was a difference in skin complexion. We weren't necessarily using it to be down on dark skinned people or anything like that, because I grew up in a house with a few different skin complexions. We had some lighter skinned people in the house, and we had some darker skinned people in the house. I was one of the darkest. That was when I started to like genuinely start to look at people like, okay, this person is light skinned, or this person is dark skinned. I don't think I had yet attached any ideas towards those skin tones. I just thought, okay, this is just the differences that we have. I didn't think that, oh, dark skin was bad or light skin is good at this point. I just was like, okay, there is a difference. Like, okay, this is what we call this is what we call that. From there, we get my family. the influence that they had with me, even more so with when it came to skin tone. In the summer times, I wouldn't take note of this per se, but my family did, especially my dad. My dad has always been one to critique. No matter what you do, no matter how good you do it, he's going to find a critique in it and he's going to express it to you no matter what. And it's not even always to the point of constructive criticism. It comes to a point of excessive criticism at times. But something that he would do every once in a while, like we'll be talking or whatever, and he'd just be like, "Oh, Chris, yeah, you getting darker. That sun, you getting dark, da 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 da." And with him being a more darker skinned person, I know now that had nothing, he didn't mean anything by that. You know what I mean? He was just noticing that his child was changing. He was noticing that his child's skin complexion was getting darker in the sun. Now, me on the other hand, this is when I'm starting to notice that, oh, you know, I'm also in school starting to get these ideas that maybe being darker isn't the best thing. Maybe getting dark in the summer isn't the best thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. And so he would point that out, and it's just stuff like that. And even more so, this is off topic from skin complexion, but like just to point out, just to really highlight how much he criticized me, he would cut my hair, right? He used to cut my hair all the time. And so when he would cut my hair, we didn't have the whole cape and stuff. We didn't have all that special shit. We just took our shirts off and he cut our hair. And so we won't get hair all over our shirts trying to wash it, all that kind of stuff. Another insecurity point that I had, he would start to comment on my body. He would be like, "Oh, Chris, your chest, da da da. Oh, Chris, you gained a little weight, da da da." And it's just like, I'm sure that was something that he was used to in his household and that was just normal. But for me, it was just like a point of insecurity, because it's just like I'm already feeling a little tense at school. I'm noticing people with the fat jokes and this, that, the other. I'm noticing how that's going on. And then I have this at home with you critiquing my weight too. But you're not helping me to be healthier, be fitter in a sense. Not in a healthy sense, but you're critiquing, you know what I mean? That's a whole nother book I could write on all of that when it comes to my parents and stuff. Next I learned that lighter, fairer skin was a token of beauty. This is maybe about the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, this area. I realized that lighter complected skin was beautiful. It was deemed beautiful, and dark skin was the adverse to that. Dark skin was something we shied away from, you know, glorifying, something that, you know, it wasn't the best to be, because lighter skin it's hip, it's the better thing to be. Delving off into that, I want to bring up my sister as well. I would notice, me and my sister are 4 years apart and she is a girl. Take that into account, but also take my feelings into account and take how I would possibly feel in this situation. A lot of times growing up, from then until now, people would be like, either if it wasn't them saying, "Oh, she's light skinned, how you dark skinned," or they'll see a picture of my parents and be like, "Oh, both of your parents lighter than you, how are you so dark," this, that, the other. And I would notice that when it would come to, like, you know, seeing family members in the store, or seeing, you know, my parents, maybe friends or something, seeing us in the store together, because we would always be with our mom a lot, they would praise her extra. Not only because she was a girl, but I feel like because she was lighter skinned and because she did have a perm. None of these things are her fault. You know, that's just how she is. That's just how she came to this world. But I just felt like, why am I always an afterthought? Or maybe they would just notice that, like, they were just praising her so much and like, "Oh, she's so cute, oh, she's da da da," and then be like, "Oh, well, yeah, he's handsome, da da da." And it's just like, that has happened to me from strangers, from family members, my whole life. You know, I never resented my sister for that, but I always took note of that this lighter skinned feminine presenting being is deemed more beautiful, deemed more precious, deemed more needed to be protected than I was. And that that messed with my heart a little bit. That messed with my inner depths, my subconscious a little bit. Moving on from there, let me tell you about how I felt about my skin complexion. From up until now, I just was like, okay, you know, I knew I was browner, I knew I was darker, but it never was a point where it was just like, I wish I was light skinned at this point. But I did have a time where that came about. Now I'm going to talk about my biases and how I've been the self-hating person, you know, that, you know, we talk about nowadays. In the 3rd grade, I remember this, 3rd or 4th, I think it was more so the 4th grade. I combated someone's complexion against them. There was this girl in my class, and she was the darkest girl. I mean, it wasn't meant, you know, she was the darkest complected girl, or the darkest complected person in our class. And me and her would sometimes get into it, you know, especially because we used to ride the bus together and stuff. And one day I decided to use her skin complexion against her. We used to roast and stuff, as kids call it now, roasting. We used to call it cracking on each other. But we were having a back and forth one day, and I called her a burnt cookie. And I just thought that was so funny. Everyone around thought that was just so funny at the time. And then after that, whenever we would get into it, I would use that against her. Mind you, it wasn't like I was just picking on her, not just to be picking on her. We had our differences. We had a reason why we was beefing and why we weren't liking each other. It had nothing to do with skin complexion. But I just hated, and I wanted to express that, and I wanted to highlight that, even though it happened all the way back in elementary school. That's the one time I do remember using that against someone, especially as a dark-skinned person, and I regret it. I regret it now, but it's just like I have to know that I had to do some growing and healing to get to this place. And so I don't blame younger Chris for doing that. I do hate that I did that to another dark-skinned person, especially a dark-skinned woman. And I hate that, you know, I took part in what she may have also experienced later on down the line, because I know other people ended up talking about her skin complexion and stuff later on. And I hated that I put my toy in the box. I put my horse in a race when it came to that, because not too long after I had experienced more severe bullying myself in junior high. And so, you know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. That feeling of being other, that feeling of being worse than, that feeling of not being equal to everyone else. This is also when I started to notice the jokes a lot more when it came to light skin, dark skin, how people like to joke about dark skin a lot more. I also want to point out representation. Also around this time, I wasn't seeing a lot of, mind you, darker skinned people were on TV, but for the most part, I can tell how different roles, subconsciously and consciously, different. I wasn't, you know, taking big account to this because I was younger. I didn't have the complex mind and the ideas that I have now, and the knowledge that I have now when it comes to how they cast these people and all this different kinds of stuff. But there wasn't many very dark people on TV, and if they were, they had certain attributes, you know what I mean? So we didn't have a lot of representation when it came to skin tone, and it just felt like I was growing and growing that darker skin was bad. You're an African American booty scratcher. A lighter skinned person, you would call them that, but a darker skinned person, you would. Just stuff like that. And then we get to junior high. Junior high was a crazy time, really crazy time. Like the junior high was the first time I was introduced to the joke of people avoiding the sun, especially light skinned people avoiding the sun to stay light in the summertime. Y'all remember Vine? When I was in junior high, that's when Vine was kind of in its prime, and that's when this joke made its way into a video form. If I can pull it up and find it, I will insert it here. But the whole idea of trying to keep your lighter complexion because one is deemed more beautiful, two, because it gives you a popularity, three, it gives you certain positive aspects and stuff about you, where now we can make a joke about this because it's just like nobody wants to be dark, and it's just like that's the underlying thing of it. You don't want to be darker. Like having lighter skin appoints you different privileges, appoints you different, you know, positive things when it comes to life. And people, especially when I was in junior high, lighter skin was the best thing to be. And in a lot of points, still in America today and still over the world today, it still is. I'm gonna try to cut all these you know what I means out. I noticed that light skin was glorified. Before I even get too deep into junior high, I also remember in elementary school, even when I was younger, sometimes I would notice, as a dark-skinned person, I would notice the different complexities to my skin, and how certain parts of my skin was darker than other parts of my skin. And so I remember sometimes wishing that the color of my skin on the inside of my arm, I could be that color all over. You know, that was one of the lightest parts of my skin. I used to wonder why I couldn't be this color all over. Maybe I knew that I would be liked a little bit more if I had this complexion all over, and that I wouldn't get darker in certain places, because that's ugly to have dark areas and stuff. I glorify that now, and people still, darker skinned people, we still are fighting with that, when it's just like, I feel like that's one of the beauties to us, that we, you know, I don't know. Also in junior high, I was noticing that certain personality attributes were allotted to people that had lighter skin, and certain personality attributes were allotted to darker skinned people. Lighter skinned people are more trustworthy. Lighter skinned people are more beautiful. This not what I feel, but this is what I was being shown by the world and being told. Lighter skinned people are more beautiful. Lighter skinned men get more girls. Lighter skinned women get all the guys, or at least all the guys want her. Lighter skinned people are nicer, you know, just all these things going around. And this is just me coming from a perspective and being in a space where I'm mostly surrounded by African American black people. I realize that now that white supremacy had a lot of cloud over all of that, reason why we acted like that, and the reason why we still act like that, and the reason why we subconsciously still push these views.
You know what I mean?
I had personality attributes connected to skin tone. Then we had the preference of a skin tone. I also noticed that lighter skinned people were preferred even by darker skinned people when it came to like relationships, even when it came to sometimes friendships. You would notice that this lighter skinned person, one, was more popular, but two, sometimes people would surround these people and just kind of subconsciously glorify them, in a sense, just because of their skin complexion. They weren't really special in my eyes. Like they just were a different skin tone, and they could get away with a lot of different stuff. Or I just noticed how people would gravitate towards certain people that had certain skin tones. I've always been very observant, and I noticed these things. And a lot of times it didn't have nothing to do with personality. It had all to do with them being lighter complected. And let me stop right here. Light-skinned people, if you're watching this is not a diss towards you. This is not anything like that. But this is me expressing my story and how I've had to grow into myself as a darker skinned person, if that even fucking means anything at this point when it comes to me. But just how I've had to live my life in a certain way where sometimes y'all haven't had to experience certain things. That's all I'm trying to say. More skin tone being a joke, especially in junior high. So then when we get to high school, I remember I didn't know anything about skin lightening or skin bleaching creams or nothing like that yet. But I remember one time, I'm not finna tell the whole story because it's embarrassing. I'm gonna tell the story. Basically, there was these things called it's like the electric pedic, right? And so my dad also had a trimmer. I did not know how to use barber clippers at this point. I was scared to use them. So I would use the trimmer because my unibrow kind of comes in. And that's something that I've always had and something that I've always just trimmed. And so I would use the trimmer sometimes, but one day the trimmer just wasn't getting it. And so I'm very creative, and I'm very imaginative, and I can make something out of nothing. I can make something work. And so I was like, that pad thing moves really fast. Maybe if I touch it on the hair, it'll cut it. And so I did it the first time, and I got it pretty good, and it was just a little bit of stubble left. And so I should have stopped there, but I didn't. And I did it again, and then my skin got caught up in the revolving, like, scratchy part of the pet egg, and then I had 2 marks right here of the skin that got, kind of messed up. And so when that skin kind of healed, it came back darker, and I had 2 dark dots in between my eyebrows, and it was from that. And I didn't tell nobody that story for a long time. In order to even out my face again and get rid of these dark spots, I started using Ambi, which is basically it lightens your dark spots and all that kind of stuff. It's something you're supposed to use like twice a day or something like that, some crazy stuff. But with Ambi, after I used Ambi for a while, I started using some other brand of skin lightening, whatever. But I noticed that, after a while, I would start to put the Ambi on all of my face, and now it's kind of like my face moisturizer. I was using Ambi as my face moisturizer, and if it subsequently got me a little bit lighter, plus, and it's just like subconsciously that's what I wanted. I wanted to achieve that even tone one, and I also wanted it, subconsciously I wanted it to be the same color as the inside of my arm. I wanted my face to be lighter because I knew that I felt more attractive with my face being a little bit lighter, and I knew that other people would see me as a little bit more attractive if my face was lighter, because I noticed how brown, this is when brown skin came into my sights, how now the darker skin people that aren't considered light skinned, now they're trying to make their own category to separate themselves from dark skinned people. Now I'm brown skinned, but I was still dark skinned, don't get me wrong. People still consider me dark skinned. I was too dark to ever be considered brown skinned, but I knew if I was this color, I could be possibly, considered brown skin. And yeah, it wasn't a dark time, but it's just like I took note of that now, and it's just like it's sad that I used to want to be lighter. It's sad that I couldn't accept my darker skin, or that the world couldn't fully accept my darker skin and love me for it, rather than deem me less attractive or deem me this list of things just because I'm darker skinned. I knew the privilege that came with being lighter. Of course, the creams didn't really work. I mean, they worked slightly, but once I stopped using them, it just, I just got darker. And I mean, ain't nothing wrong with that. That's what naturally happens. Also in high school, when I got a little bit older, maybe my sophomore year, partly even my 9th grade year, my mom, she started to, I noticed she started like a little journey where she started to really get into her blackness a lot more, in a sense of like complexion. And she would start to tell me how my skin tone was just so beautiful, and the dark skin is just so beautiful, and this, that, the other. And how she would wish that she had darker skin. And in the back of my mind, I was just like, what the hell is she talking about? What the hell didn't happen to this woman? Not saying that she has never been one to just value herself for being a lighter complected person, but I was wondering, like, why do you want to give up this privilege that you do indeed have for being lighter skinned? I sometimes, like, subconsciously, my mom was pretty to me, but it's just like, I knew my mom being lighter, like, that was gonna give me a one up. You know what I mean? I knew my brother being more athletic and being more attractive. When I'm with him, I know that I'm gonna kind of get in. She was just like, I just wish I could have darker skin, this, that, the other. It's just so beautiful, this, that, the other. And she would reassure me in my skin. And, I haven't, really thanked her for that now. But I really do thank her for that, because she really helped me to see the value in being darker skinned, or at least see that there was nothing wrong with me for having darker skin. Because I think she noticed some of the aspects that what happened too. Like I remember one time me and my brother right above me, we're both darker skinned. We would sometimes get into it. We were trying to see who's the darkest amongst the siblings, and it would just be between me and him who's the darkest. And of course I would always lose, but it was just like I wasn't coming from an aspect of like I'm trying to be lighter than anybody. It just was the fact. I felt like I was lighter than him, and in some aspects I was lighter than him, but it's just like they wanted to be so whatever that they just wanted me to be darker because they knew that was a more negative thing. And so they was like, oh yeah, Chris, you darker, da da da. But anyway, she started to reassure me, and I think that plus social media, because social media, I started to notice that has been very recent though. People with darker skin being glorified for their darker skin, and a lot of times it would, yes indeed, it would be like a more exotic person, somebody that's more African, is darker, grew up darker, and now we're seeing them in fashion, we're seeing them, you know, doing all these different things. And me as a darker person, but not that pretty dark that people like to, you know, because that became a thing too, where it's just like, yeah, you're dark, but then there's this pretty dark where you're just really dark, or you're just really even toned and dark and all this and that. But I just started to notice a shift towards, you know, people glorifying darker skin. But that also came when it came to men. It also came with the idea of the darker skinned man being more masculine, and I didn't like that, and the lighter skinned man being more feminine and all this and that. That started to play a role too. And I'm sure that's when some lighter skinned people start to feel away. They started to feel a little bit less privileges in some spaces, very minute, very small places here and there, but they started to feel that, you know, sometimes where it was just like your skin tone can be something negative sometimes. And that's still kind of going on to this day. But it's just like, also with me being darker skinned, it's just like, with me being more darker skinned and not so masculine, with me being darker skinned and more effeminate, more expressive, that's a no-no. With me being a dark skin and not being a top, ooh, I don't have no dates. Let me move on. But basically what I'm trying to say is my journey to self-love, it subsequently turned into me loving my complexion as well, because I think I got to a point, especially in college, where it's just like, even in high school, it's just like none of this shit matter. Okay, you lighter, okay, you darker, that don't make you no more or less attractive.
You know what I mean?
If you're attractive, you're attractive. If I think you're attractive to me. And skin complexion had no monkey wrench in that. You know, you looking ambiguous with these green eyes or blue eyes and this light skin and this loose texture curl, that didn't do anything for me. It didn't make me want to praise you for that. I didn't see the need, and I actually started to resent the fact that people love these lighter skinned kids. I started to notice these black men wanting to have lighter skinned babies and expressing that, and I wasn't with that. But once I started to love myself, especially in my queerness, and just loving my body, it's just like, you have to love your skin tone too. Especially when you get to a point where it's just like, it's not going to change. If anything, I'm going to get darker. You start to love it. When you have Beyoncé, you have Kelly Rowland coming out with these anthems for darker skinned people. Coffee. I'm gonna just point blank coffee. That is just like, darker skin has become, amongst darker skinned people, we have finally started to love ourselves more and love our complexion for what it is.
Ayo Blackie, here's the ultimate tip on how to not get darker when going outside. Stay the fuck inside. I'll be out here though, getting darker than the shadows and loving it because I'm chocolatey and delicious.
You know what I mean? Regardless of what the world thinks, or regardless of if the world is trying to glorify us for being dark skinned, or if someone's trying to prefer us for our dark skin, we're at a place now where we can love our dark skin regardless of any of that. The reason why I even thought to do this video, I was walking outside the other day and I was just like, in my head, I was just like, if I get darker, that'll be so cool. Like tanning, you know, I've never been one to be like, oh my god, let me go tan, you know, nothing like that. But it's just like, my skin getting darker, that fueled me. Now it's just like I see dark skin as beautiful. Not to the point where I'm trying to achieve this just very dark complexion, because that's probably not healthy if I'm not being safe with, you know, trying to tan and all that different kind of stuff. But it's just like, if I do get darker, I love it. I'll love myself through all the phases. I'll love myself when my skin is a little bit lighter. I'll love myself when my skin is dark as night. And probably even a little bit more so when I'm a little bit dark. You know what I mean? And what did I have last? Here's the rant. Here comes the rant. Let me cross my leg. For those still living in the mindset that light skin is better, even if you're not saying it, even if you're glorifying and praising this person over here for having these green eyes and his light skin and these pink lips, you're a problem. 1. 2, I don't care that you're, you know, trying to make darker skin feel bad. I don't care that. Let me get my read together real quick. You're not better than me. You're not better than anyone because of your lighter skin complexion. Your lighter skin complexion does not make you more beautiful. Your lighter skin complexion does not make you a nicer person, because a lot of y'all are very nasty. Your lighter complexion, it does get you more jobs. It does get you more things in that aspect, because we do still live in this white supremacist country. But you're not better than me. Don't get on the internet, you know, because we did have that post where they were talking about light-skinned people. Let me what's that man's name? I'm gonna insert his name, and if I find a video, I'm gonna put that in there too. But in the comments, people were just saying like, oh yeah, light skins can get all the girls. The darkies had to work extra hard to be deemed more attractive. And it's like a lot of some light skinned people and even dark skinned people, they take pride in it. They take pride in the fact that their lighter complexion deems them more whatever. Or these dark skinned men out here taking pride in the fact that their little daughters, especially little daughters, have this loose curl and this light skin. And it's really, it comes from a deep place of self-hatred. I don't care what the fuck y'all got to say. It comes from self-hatred. Well, because they won't say it out loud a lot of times, especially because they have it and have attained it. But they would rather not have a dark-skinned child. In their heads, they saw themselves having themselves a lighter skinned kid. And they prefer that. And they even let that bleed off into their preferences and who they decide to date and stuff, because they want, you know, this thing at the end of the day. They want the somewhat privilege or somewhat of the praise that they get for having a lighter skinned child. And that's not to say anything with people that genuinely love their partners and, you know, just subsequently have lighter skinned children. But it's just like the ones that prefer it, the people that's out here praising people for having green eyes. My eyes are beautiful too. Yeah, they're darker, they're not black, they're still brown. I don't have black eyes. I have brown eyes, and they're just as beautiful as someone with green eyes. Just because their eyes are, you know, deemed more captivating, or sometimes, you know, that is something that's a little different, because a lot of people do have brown eyes. That doesn't make them better just because a color that their genetics made them. They didn't have to do anything to obtain that. They didn't have to, you know, they didn't have to do anything. That's just who they are. I guess that's all really I got to say. I like my skin complexion. If you don't want to date me because my skin complexion is a certain way, or because I don't act a certain way with the complexion that I do have, fuck you. You weren't worth me anyway. You're not worth my time anyway. And that's not even me being salty. That's just me being real. It's just like, if you still have that mindset, you know, I can't do nothing with you. I can't do nothing for you. I can only hope that you do better for the next person. That's basically it for this video. I don't know how long this is, but I appreciate everyone for, you know, tuning in and watching me. Hopefully I covered everything I wanted to cover. I think I did. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did get to the end, post a black or brown heart, or both, because this is beautiful. You're beautiful. We're beautiful. No matter what your skin tone is, you're beautiful, and God made you that way for a reason. Your genetics express themselves like that for a reason, even though you can't control it. It's just who you are. Be who you are. But yeah, that's all.